Sorry. You got me tonight. I think Larry's on a little vacation I think in Seattle or something, he said. So I'm filling in, and we're going to take a little bit of a break from the class that he'd been going through on Wednesday nights. But hopefully you'll be encouraged or challenged, or maybe both, with the lesson tonight. It's going to be on resiliency, and so we'll talk through a few things. But first, as you know, Larry is very big on pop quizzes. Well, I'm not a pop quiz guy, but here you're going to get some pop quotes. So I have a book that a good friend of mine gave to me, and it's called Distilled Wisdom. And in that book, there's just a bunch of different words, A to Z, just random. And so I like to flip through that book sometimes and just kind of see like what's there. And it's quotes from the past, and it's a book that was compiled back, I think, in the 60s, and there may have been versions even back before then. I really don't know, but these kind of jumped out at me, and I thought it was interesting, so I thought I'd share them with you. A thorough knowledge of the Bible is worth more than a college education, from Teddy Roosevelt. And when you've read the Bible, you will know it's the Word of God, because you will have found it the key to your own heart, your own happiness, and your own duty. Woodrow Wilson. Bible, that book, sir, is the rock on which our republic rests. And I thought, specifically with those guys, like how different is our political landscape today than when it was back then? Just very interesting to see their take. And then if you look at the next one from Napoleon, Alexander Caesar, Charlemagne, and I myself have founded empires, but upon what do these creations of our genius depend upon? Force. Jesus alone founded his empire upon love, and to this very day, millions would die for him. Just very interesting, and honestly, these quotes aren't really going to have anything to do with the lesson, but I felt like it was a good way to make you guys not nervous. Or maybe me, I don't know. And then the last one, I have now disposed of all my property to my family. There is one more thing which I wish I could give, and that is the Christian religion. If they had that and I had not given them 1 shilling, they would have been rich. And if they had not that and I had given them the world, they would be poor. So anyway, if you're interested, go get the book. It's pretty. See if you can find it. It's called Distilled Wisdom. Like I said, it's about this thick, and just A to Z. You can kind of look at quotes from the past and things that'll maybe challenge you or cause you to think. So, so that being said, today I want to talk about resilience or resiliency. And so here's the definition: the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties or toughness. And you see there a picture of a rubber band, and I didn't have a rubber band, but I have a tennis ball. So I need a big, strong. Richard, can I borrow you for just 1 second? Come up here, and I want you to. So if you look at this tennis ball, right? What's the big thing? You can squish it, but it generally pops back into play. I want you to see if you can squish that and permanently deform it.
I can squish it all the way till I hit the other side.
Does it stay?
No.
Okay, let me try. You really got to push on it, though.
I can get it to the other side. Did you get the other side? You quit.
Okay, so I had a flat tennis ball. But you get the idea, right? So that's what we're going to look at is the ability to be like this and not like this. So how this one got this way, I really don't know. I just know that I don't think I'd ever seen it before, and I thought it was kind of funny.
I did that to
Yeah. Okay, so let me ask you this: how many of you know this guy? Anybody recognize? A couple of sports fans do. How about if you saw this? Does that help put this in position? Yeah. So this is Kirk Herbstreit, and this happens. The picture on the right there is when College Game Day was in Boise 11 years ago, something like that. And so as I was going through, wondering what I was going to talk about for the lesson tonight, his book came out. So he's got this book called Out of the Pocket, and I downloaded the sample, which is like the first 2 chapters, enough to get you hooked, and then I was like, oh, that's pretty good. I kind of like it, and it just came out about a week ago. But I thought it was interesting, and I wanted to kind of share with you kind of what his childhood was like. And I don't know that it's necessarily anything different than maybe what some people here have gone through, or, I mean, people that have gone through it, but let me walk through a little bit. So his parents divorced when he was 8 years old, and he'll tell you that really, really rocked his world. That, they had what he thought was the perfect family, and that when his parents got divorced, it just totally changed. His mom was a stay-at-home mom at the time. She had to go get a job and didn't have any money. His dad didn't want confrontation, so his dad just bailed. And still, call him once in a while, but didn't come around. And so just totally changed where he thought he was as a kid. And he ended up being raised by his older sister because his mom's out working. And then, he ends up attending 7 different schools in 8 years. Barely passed speech class in high school because he refused to get up and speak. And that stemmed from, I think, a speech class in middle school when he did get up, and he sort of stuttered on a few words and turned bright red, and apparently there was the cutest girl in school sitting right in front of him, and everyone starts chuckling and laughing, and he, from that point, he's like, I'm not doing that anymore. And so literally took, I think he got a C or a D in speech class because he refused to get up there. Just wasn't going to do it. But then throughout his high school career, he becomes the star quarterback. So here's this kid who's been down, he's frustrated, and then he's got this other stuff going on. He becomes, he just outworked everyone, and he became the star quarterback. They finished, I think they won the state title 2 years when he was there. He ends up one of the top recruits. He gets recruited by all the big countries in the school. He grew up in Ohio, so he decides, well, I want to go to Ohio State. So he does it. Things are good. And when he gets there, I'm going to start. I'm going to be, I'm one of the best guys in the country. I'm going to get there. I'm going to start as a true freshman. We're going to go light it up. And what he finds out is that instead of him starting, he not only redshirted, but when he redshirted back then, he didn't play, and so he didn't travel. That was the first year. Thought, okay, the second year is going to be better. Second year was the same. Not even anywhere on the depth chart. Didn't see the field. Third year, same story. Gets so frustrated and so disappointed that he was literally about to quit the team. And I'll stop there. But ultimately, as you can see now, he's overcome some things, and now here he is. I mean, he's on TV all the time. He's the face of college football for ESPN, and I'll jump back to him a little bit because he's got a very I thought a poignant quote that he brings to light about his trials, and so as we look through this, I also wanted to then go back and say, all right, well, let's look at 2020 and 2021. What has that been like? So here's this guy. Well, what happened here? I pulled some of this stuff from, I think, historychannel.com or something, and maybe Prince Harry and Meghan quitting the royal family impacted you. Didn't really impact me. COVID did, though, obviously. We went to virtual church services, Richard preaching from his backyard, and then to an empty congregation. Kobe Bryant dies, stock market crashes, right? And everyone who's retired or this close to retiring is starting to sweat bullets. Like, are we going to be able to make it? What's going to happen? And then we got half the country doesn't like our president. Alex Trebek dies. COVID vaccines roll out. We get financial relief. And we get a new president. Well, half the country doesn't like that guy either. And if you look on the right, that was the U.S. COVID statistics. And you can see January was kind of the peak, but it starts coming down, right? I took this picture September 11th of last year, and you can see it was 8:54 a.m. That's at the Chicago Midway Airport. And if you know anything about any of the airports in Chicago, at 9 a.m. in the morning, that is an absolute ghost town. And it blew my mind. And so I took this pano because there's restaurants. There's restaurants back in here. There's here. And you see there's 2 people there, maybe 1 there. Might have been 6 or 8 people. I walked by a Dunkin' Donuts and I thought, okay, surely you can get a coffee. No, locked up tight. and just really reset. And this, as I was thinking back about this, like, yeah, this thing really did impact us all. And keep in mind, this is all outside of what's going on in our personal lives, right? And I think that's what really hit home. So then you roll into 2021. Well, they begin to start dropping rapidly. Travel opens back up. Restaurants are open. Hotels open back up. Now people are flying everywhere. And I can tell you that the airport's packed and people are social distancing, so now you can't even find anywhere to sit down. But things are happening. Mask mandates going away, more vaccines. Summer's coming, full of hope. And then the Delta variant arrives, right? And here we are. We're back on this roller coaster, and here we are again. So I think as I looked at this, I just thought, this is not easy stuff, and again, this is assuming that just everything is okay in your personal life, right? And that we're not worried about anything like that. So one of them that hits a little closer to home is this one. That guy right there, this was in May of 2017. He was out at a game, and he's always had the heart issue, right? Not Kenny, the other guy. That's Brian, if you didn't know. But he was May of 2017, June 2017. So a month later, here he is getting loaded into an ambulance to get him life flighted down to Salt Lake. And what that doesn't show, he's actually got kind of a startled look on his face. But that was even after, Richard remembers, this is after like 2 or 3 days where he wouldn't sleep, because when he did, his body would start shutting down and he would jolt himself awake. So here he's going through all this stuff. This one, so here he's had his open heart surgery, and Richard said, hey, let's go take a funny picture with him. And I don't think to this day Brian even knows that we ever took this picture, but here's the progression of stuff, right? And this is what's going on in Brian's life. And so then now fast forward, May 2019, he's sitting out there, things are good. Now August 21, here he is after his surgery, and actually this is really good. I wanted to show you guys this because this is actually, the he's made is fantastic compared to where he was 4 years ago. And pretty soon he's going to be happy and looking squinty like that. But this is the kind of stuff that, as we look at it, it's like this is the stuff that real life is happening, right? This is where things get very, very challenging, and let alone what's going on with COVID or anything else. Real life happens, and everyone's got their own different stories, right? What are some challenges you guys see, like neighbors, things like that? What do you see out there that people are having to deal with? Yeah, Mike. Yeah, fear. Yep. Sure. People are afraid. Yeah. Border. Yeah. Yeah. So whether or not the border's open, whether or not you can see loved ones, in another country, that can impact you. Some things I wrote here, why this stuff is important. Well, look at family challenges, right? Challenges with children, challenges with your parents. Maybe they're getting older, they're not doing so well. Maybe your kids, you're having trouble. They're teenagers, and life's challenging. You're dealing with that stuff, and maybe it's marriage. I had a friend, in fact, a very close friend. His son committed suicide. Those are things that I can't imagine. I just know that those are the kind of things that really rock your world, and resiliency. Not everyone can bounce back from that stuff, right? And then you've got obviously the health issues we talked about. You may have seen the email that went out on a former neighbor of mine that just all of a sudden just took a turn for the worse, right? He had diabetic, and he got some sort of infection, and they went in. It was in his foot. They thought, all right, give him some antibiotic. He's only had it a day or two. Well, they had to amputate some toes. Then he's cleaning a handgun, discharges it, takes off 2 of his fingers. Then he's trying to recover from that, and having trauma and not feeling well and almost pass out. They take him to the hospital. This is only, I don't know, a couple weeks or a couple days, I think it said, after he had the hand injury, and find out he had contracted West Nile, got meningitis and brain damage, and he passed away 2 days ago. So all this stuff happens, right? And it's like, just these punches that keep getting thrown at us. And again, look at finance. People struggling to pay rent. Rent prices going up, especially around here. These are things that people are having to deal with. How am I going to handle medical bills? How am I going to put food on the table? Maybe employment. Am I going to have a job tomorrow? Maybe COVID took away my job, and now I got to go find something else. All these things are stressors that can really, really mess with your mind, be very, very challenging. And it's easy to become, really quite pessimistic, right? It's easy when that stuff kind of goes on to say, man, this is terrible, and is it ever going to get better? And I don't see it. I can't tell. And maybe most importantly, like it says there, these challenging times can cause us to question where we're going spiritually, and whether God's in control, or whether He even cares. And so as we look to a little bit of the scriptures, a little bit. Think about this for a second. Who are some of the people in Scripture that you see as being some of the more resilient people? People that maybe had to go through those trying times, but were able to bounce back. Job, right? Number one. I mean, that's one of the biggest ones. Who else? Joseph. Yeah, absolutely. Joseph was another one. Who else? Paul. Yeah, Paul definitely had trying times. Absolutely. And one of the ones that I think it was funny because so we were streaming Clint's lesson from Sunday night, and he was talking about Nehemiah for I think the 15th time in the last 2 months or something, because of camp. And yeah, I heard him say, "All right, guys, I'm done talking about Nehemiah." But I went back, and a couple things that he said were very interesting. And so I put this up here because it occurred to me that Larry's big about quoting our biblical scholars, right? And most of he puts Richard up there and said, "Hey, here's a quote from Richard." So I thought, "Oh, Clint needs his time, and we're gonna put him up there." But look at a couple things that Clint had said in regards to Nehemiah. He said, when God wants you to make a difference, the first thing He might put into your life is pain, right? and what we'll get to is down the road, I kind of put together a cycle that I think might hopefully put some things in perspective for us as we look at the resiliency and the challenges. But I thought it was spot on that this whole thing kind of starts with pain. It starts with a pain moment, and then he said that the difference making often begins with a sense of discontent, and that's he called it the holy discontent. And as I was looking at that, that's, you see that a lot. I don't know if you read any books, leadership books, things like that. One of the things they do is they challenge you to get out of your comfort zone, right? They want you to get out of that spot where everything is okay and the world's just turning, and because that you're not necessarily growing in that spot, right? You've got to be challenged. You got to be put through that stuff to grow and see what you're going to come out on the other side. And the other thing, Nehemiah didn't allow the issue to sit and fester, but he used it as a catalyst to take action. And I thought that was one of the biggest things. And we'll see how this might relate too. But just pulling off of a few things, I really was actually encouraged because as Clint's talking about this, he didn't touch on necessarily the topic of resiliency, but it was kind of the underlying theme in a certain part of it. And then even though he's a man of action, his first thing he must do is pour out his heart to God in prayer. And so we're going to look at a couple of the other individuals that you mentioned, and we'll just talk through these somewhat briefly. So Joseph, obviously, I just kind of highlighted a few of the things that he went through: thrown into the pit by his brothers, sold into slavery, and then day after day, he wouldn't listen to Potiphar's wife to lie beside her, be with her. Then he's thrown into prison, and I got to thinking, it's easy for us to read through this, and I don't know about you, but when I hear that, I'm like, okay, he got thrown into prison. What do you think the prison was like back in those days? Just in the last 40 or 50 years, you look and see how things have changed here, and it's prison, whatever. I can't imagine that was a good place to be at all. I just, it had to be unreal. And then after that, he gets thrown back into prison for 2 years, so he's got an additional 2 years. Just think about that, with where you're at today. Picture spending 2 years in a prison back in Egypt in those days and that kind of time. It would have been so easy for him to give up and wonder, all right, what's even going on? Why has God even got me here? Here I was interpreting dreams, thought I was doing good stuff, and now I'm 2 years in prison. I don't even know how a guy can do that outside of he understood what the bigger picture was. So here in Genesis 50, verse 15, says, when Joseph's brothers saw that their father was dead, they said, it may be that Joseph will hate us and pay us back for all the evil that we did to him. So they sent a message to Joseph saying, your father gave this command before he died. Say to Joseph, please forgive the transgression of your brothers and their sin because they did evil to you. And now please forgive the transgression of the servants of the God of your father. Joseph went and wept. Joseph wept when they spoke to him. His brothers also came and fell down before him and said, behold, we are your servants. But Joseph said to them, do not fear, for am I in the place of God? As for you, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, to bring it about that many people should be kept alive as they are today. So do not fear, I will provide for you and your little ones. Thus he comforted them and spoke to them kindly. So what we see here is Joseph had the bigger picture in mind, and I don't know what he went through in those years that he was in prison. I have to imagine that when he interprets the cupbearer and the baker's dreams and thinks, okay, that they're going to tell someone I'm going to get out of here. The hope that would be dashed. And now all of a sudden here you are, you're stuck and saying, well, I guess they forgot about me. Nothing matters. And and I don't know at which point that was, but here, as I take myself out and I look, how would I have felt like that? I just can see this. Okay, there's a chance here. I interpreted the dreams for these guys. The message is going to get back to the king. He's going to hear about it. He's going to see what's going on. I'm out of this place, and nothing, and down I go again. Then we talked about, somebody mentioned, I think Robert mentioned Job. Job's trials, and either my eyes are getting older or that's too small. So he had the servants and the livestock taken away, loss of his children, physical illness or pain, the restless sleep filled with nightmares, cruel accusations and loss of friends, confusion as to why he was asked to experience these trials, mockery from those who delighted in his downfall, and feeling forsaken and unheard by God. And Job was the first one that I thought of too, the pain and the anguish that this guy endured. But he stayed faithful. And we'll show this. I think there was an understanding of a bigger picture. He knew, he believed in God. He knew that whatever he was going through at the time wasn't going to be where he was going to end up. And then you can see that afterward, I think before he had seven sons and then 3 beautiful daughters. I think most beautiful in the land. Had double as many sheep, as many camels, yoke of oxen, and donkeys. And again, because he was able to see that bigger picture. Then if we look at Habakkuk, and I went back through and I looked at that. And here he is, Habakkuk's frustrated, saying, God, how long should I cry for help? And I've got the people that aren't doing what they're supposed to do. How long is this going to go on? And he says, or cry to you violence and you will not save. Why do you make me see iniquity, and why do you idly look at wrong? Destruction and violence are before me, strife and contention arise. So the law is paralyzed and justice never goes forth. For the wicked surround the righteous, so justice goes forth perverted. and you see this dialogue of a couple prayers back and forth, and God says, "Oh, I'm going to raise up the Chaldeans, and they're going to come and they're going to take care of my people." And then, and then Habakkuk's struggling with that. Well, why are you going to take an even more evil people and let them win and take care of your people, right? But he comes through, and at the end of Habakkuk, look what he says. So you could just picture this roller coaster of emotions and what's going on. And he says, though the fig tree should not blossom, nor fruit be on the vines, the produce of the olive fail, and the fields yield no food, the flock be cut off from the fold, and there be no herd in the stalls, yet I will rejoice in the Lord. I will take joy in the God of my salvation. God the Lord is my strength. He makes my feet like the deer's. He makes me tread on my high places. And so here at the end, Habakkuk was frustrated, didn't understand what was going on until some time in prayer, understanding that God had a plan, and now he says, all right, look, I don't care how bad it gets, the God, you're my strength, and I'm going to follow you. So I came up with what I think might be a process that maybe we can use, and I think what I hope we can see is sometimes we got to step back from maybe looking at things with blinders on, and we got to be able to step back and say, okay, what's the bigger picture here? As we talked about, if you look here, talks about difficult times, right? It's going to start there. There's going to be some sort of pain, some sort of a challenge, and then we're going to have to make a choice to overcome. Right, that's an important piece. You have to choose to act, and we've seen that in the scriptures we looked at. You've got to pray, take action, and then sit back and see what God does. What does that require? Well, it requires mental strength, right? It requires a desire to grow, support from those who love you. I think we call that the church. That's why we're here. That's why God put this here, is for that support. Prayer, faith in God, and we know without a doubt it's always going to take time. And as we have to step back, one of the things that I've been trying to do lately is it's easy for me to focus on my life and some of the struggles that I have, whether it be at work or with kids or whatever it might be. And then I step back and I say, wait a minute, am I healthy? Yeah. Am my family healthy? Yeah. Can I put food on the table? Do I have a nice house? Do I have a car to get me to and from work? Yep. Well, I don't have it so bad, and being able to step back and really realize that perspective and become less myopic, if you will, and really be able to take that 40,000-foot view and look at, okay, does this really matter in the scheme of things? At the end of the day, does it matter what happens in that project at work? Does it matter what happens on the football game? Does it matter what happened? No, it doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, that's not our end point. Our end point is heaven. We're going to heaven. And yeah, Jeremy. Oh, hold on. I forgot. Blake's the runner. Hold on, we're getting it turned on.
It's profound. So there we go. You mentioned a couple of things there, like the football game and those things that we all know really probably don't matter, right, in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
But there's things there's periods of time that we go through in our lives that are years long, and that when we're in the middle of it, we think this is it. My world is falling apart, and even those things, you could take that 40,000-foot look and just realize that this is not the end. This is just a small part of that story.
Yeah, and I think that's the challenge, right? Everyone's going to have a different cycle. There's no set difficult times. What does that mean, right? It might mean 2 days, might mean 2 years, might mean 5 years. And I think a lot of it depends on the situation. But it's also if you're able to step back, and that's not an easy thing to do, right? I mean, because that's your life. You're in it every single day. That's what you know, and to be able to step back and try to see that. Sometimes I think you okay, yeah, this makes me feel better. I did it. I see now the bigger picture. What happens the next day? right back in it, right? Just jump back in. It's like, well, difficult times again. Here we are. But again, I think that's where we have to make sure we can leverage and not in a bad way, use the church. That's what it's here for. And that's, quick text, a quick call, quick whatever. I know maybe a personal note. Right, just if you see someone that just doesn't look themselves, write them a quick personal note. Nobody does that stuff anymore, right? Well, at least nobody younger than 60, I think. But I know that that's something that we do. We do at work. To be right honest with you, is if we're meeting someone, we try to write a personal note. Hey, thanks for your time. Really look forward to seeing you next time I'm out there. You drop it in the mail, and I actually got mail. It's not junk mail. It's not a bill, and it was handwritten by someone. And so that kind of stuff that can be a very positive, have a positive impact on people of the church too. I went through and I was looking at just some various things here, and I came across this from John Maxwell, and I thought it was really interesting. Obviously he's written a number of books, and this one I on resiliency, I thought this was very interesting. So, according to the American Psychology Association, there are several key factors in resilience. The first is healthy relationships. Having a community of people who love and support you, again, I would submit that for us, that's the church, that's why we're here, is an important key to bouncing back from disappointment. This, above all, has the most impact on a person's level of resilience. That above all. So now I don't know how many studies he's done or where that, but or the American Psychology Association, but just having people you can share your struggles with, that are caring and praying for you, that above all, according to the study, is the number one impact. The larger the network of support and care, the more able a person is to be resilient. And I think that speaks volumes. Then you look at the second point there. There are other factors as well. The ability to create and execute realistic plans for the future helps minimize the sense of being stuck in our pain. What is he saying here? I think he's saying, understand what your goal is, right? If we get stuck in the day-to-day and we lose focus of really what's important and really what matters, it is so much easier to sit there and stew and dwell and what's happening if you're sitting there stewing and dwelling? Well, you're not taking action, right? You're in that mired in that self-pity, and that happens. I know. I've been there. It's the way it goes. But we have to take action to get ourselves out of it. The ability to create and execute realistic plans for the future helps minimize the sense of being stuck in our pain. And on those days when you're tempted to believe you're worthless, the ability to have a positive view of yourself, as well as a healthy self-confidence, can keep you from falling further into depression. And again, how do we do that? I would encourage you to pick up the scriptures daily, look through that. That's the best source of encouragement that we can possibly have. Make sure our minds are right. And how do we do that? Well, Richard's preached a while back about garbage in, garbage out. It's all a matter of what goes in. What are we going to put in? Are we going to put in good stuff, encouraging stuff, self-confidence stuff, or are we going to watch the news and listen to what's going on, and all of a sudden we fall down into a spiral of frustration and challenges. So we started off talking about Kirk Herbstreit, and so he was the 3 years in college, and he hadn't seen the field other than maybe a couple plays in mop-up time when it didn't matter. And remember, he was one of the top recruited athletes that year. And so he comes in, he's got a full scholarship, no problem, right? Everything's paid for, he's in good shape. Look, this is his quote out of his book that really struck me. It was a toxic way to live my daily life. And he's talking about the mental state that he was in. He was frustrated, he was ready to quit. They had tried to put him at safety because he wasn't cutting it at QB. And it wasn't that he wasn't talented, it just he didn't fit their offense. It just didn't work for him. And so here he says he had a bad attitude, he was ready to quit. And then he says, some of my buddies on the team, Darren, kicker John Berger, long snapper John Borchers, were all walk-ons. They didn't have a scholarship. They were paying their own way through school. And it says, they would have given anything to experience my worst football day. I was brought in on a pedestal. Darren, John, Jim, they had to scratch and claw just to get on the team. They were nearly invisible to a lot of the scholarship guys. Here I was, bitter at my own situation. And then there was Darren, who was grateful to be in the running backs meeting room, to be a part of the team in whatever small way possible. Everything is seen through the lens of your own situation. And as I thought about that, I thought, wow, what a powerful statement. You know, here it's so easy to be focused in on ourselves and think, this is terrible. What am I even doing here? This is I hate it. I'm quitting. I'm done. And then all of a sudden we step back, we look at it from another perspective, and then, so glad I'm here. I made the team. Like, I probably don't see the field, but at least I'm on the team. At least I can say I'm a Buckeye or whatever. And so, you know, as we look at that, again, it's about stepping back and understanding what our real purpose is. Where's our finish line in life? So as we close, let me encourage you with these. Proverbs 28:18. Without vision, the people perish. Right? We have to have that vision. We need to know where we're going. We need to know where the finish line is, and that's what we're aimed at. 1 Peter 5:7. Cast your anxieties on him because he cares for you. Bad times are going to happen. Challenges are going to happen. And they're going to probably happen not just once when things are good, but they're probably going to hit you when you're already down a little bit. And that's just the way it is. Hebrews 12:2, looking to Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Jesus didn't deserve what he went through. He could have stayed in heaven. But he had a plan, and he had to go through some rough times that he didn't deserve either. And at the end of the day, he took our sins to the cross, conquered death, and rose again. So I hope you're encouraged. I don't mean this to hopefully to be a negative message. I want it to be positive, and hopefully you can leave here and take a step back and focus. Okay, what really matters? What am I focused on? What really is going to make a difference as we go through day to day? And like I said, I encourage you to, if not these scriptures, pick a few scriptures they're going to encourage you. Say them out loud. Write them down. Write them 10 times. Sear that stuff in, and make sure that we're strong, because, like I said, we're not out of this COVID thing. It's still around. It's coming back. Whether or not it's going to be as bad, I don't know. But it's going to take a focus and a mental strength from us to be able to get through it. So, any comments or questions before we close? Okay. Thank you.